Hey YouTube, so we are with the Jeep Club of Maryland, and at this point right now I am leading the group, and we are about to do the Twister Trail.
Hey YouTube, we're about to do Twister. Here we are on the trail, and we had to wait for some Jeeps to get out of the way, and we're about to proceed. So we'll see you guys shortly.
So basically what happened is we started going down Twister, and I saw the headlights, so I immediately stopped the whole group, and I saw there was basically a bypass, so I backed everybody up to the bypass, and they basically were sitting on the trail, but we left a bypass for them to get around us, and then once they get around us, we're going to head down the trail. Hey, so the reason for the selection of this trail was they were looking for some interesting trails that were mild. They were not too extreme, and essentially they didn't want them to be mud pits anymore. They were looking for rock and things like that. So this is an interesting trail in that it's kind of twisty, it's downhill, and there's quite a bit of articulation that you have to do when you go down it. I don't consider it particularly difficult per se, but in the end there was one obstacle on this trail that we wanted to spot through, so we spotted a couple of Jeeps through one specific obstacle, but other than that one obstacle, everybody else made it down easy peasy. So when you see the footage, you're probably going to think that this trail should probably be rated as a green trail, and I think I agree that this is a blue trail. However, like in the numbering scheme of things, you know, green is 1, 2, 3, blue would be 4, 5, 6. So this would be one of the the light blue ones. So this would probably be closer to like a 4 and not a 6. So it would be like the borderline between green and blue. But it would be, if you marked it a green, it would be the very top of the green scale. If you marked it as a blue, it would be near the bottom of the blue scale. But that would be assuming you were going down the trail. If you were going up the trail, I probably would give it a significantly higher rating because it's muddy, and if it was wet, it could probably be significantly more challenging to go up, mainly because you'd be having to deal with trying to get traction. So you can notice how narrow this trail is and how we're kind of weaving the needle between these trees, so to speak. This is very typical of a AOAA trail, especially the blues. Most of them are narrow. It's just not normal to see like a super wide trail at AOAA that is like anything other than like super duper easy. But once again, I mean, when you look at this, I mean, it should be pretty obvious like what to do going down it. You know, obviously you keep the wheels straight, obviously, don't go fast, use the brake if you have to, use any type of hill descent that you have. The new Jeeps have a different name for the button. It's the same button, like the icon is basically the same. It's kind of like cruise control for Jeeps and four-wheel drive is the way they see it now. It's not just for going down hills. So on the left here, there's actually a pretty good size drop off, and that was one, I think, one of, or maybe the only spot that we spotted. And other than that one spot on the left, everything else was super easy. And you can see how buttery smooth it is. So when you get to this point, there are 3 or 4 ways to get down and out of this. You can go left or you can go right here. And if you go right, it's a little bit more interesting in my mind than if you go left. However, being that I've never been on Twister before in the Gladiator, and I wasn't really 100% sure on the wheelbase or the breakover angle if it would make the right-hand side, I actually went the cautious way and the careful way. So Kimberly will be super happy to know that I went the easy way, which is to the left. And I did tell quite a few people, I'm like, hey, your Jeep is more than capable of going right. The only reason why I went left is because I'm in a Gladiator. For like a 2-door or a 4-door, going right is not challenging at all. It just, kind of up and downy. So this right here, this base that we're in, this little creek, this is Barney Rubble, and it's a creek side. So if we were to make a left here, we would be going up the Barney Rubble Trail, and that Barney Rubble Trail would turn into essentially like 3 different blues. So when you look on the map, the left side splits into 3 trails. So you can see here, like where it says 49 in the middle of the blue circle that we're doing, and we're at the topmost part of that circle, getting ready to make a left-hand turn on the bold blue. Anyway, that 49 trail is the Barney Rubble Trail, and then the right-hand fork would be Barney Rubble, and then the middle would be Pebbles, and then the left-hand fork would be Bam Bam. So I was honestly expecting to spot more people than we had to spot. The group did a really good job of having people like get out and like just spot the person behind them, which is like excellent. Like that you can do that. You don't have to depend on like one person to spot everybody. And that little pause that you saw there was basically the amount of time it took for everybody to get off this trail. It was pretty quick to get down Twister. So now we're going to jump on Trail 41. And essentially, at this point in the day, it's going to be like one last trail and then back toward the gate. And we had misjudged the time, so we thought the park was open for an hour longer than it really was. So if we would have known, like, or if I would have known, like, the actual time the gate closed, but I wasn't paying attention to that when we left because I wasn't guiding, I wouldn't have, like, gone up to the trail that we're going on because we honestly didn't really have the time to do it properly. But like whatever, so we were headed up to it, you know, under the notion that we think that we have an extra hour than we really do, and you know, everything works out and everything. So we are headed up to Renee's Hill. However, we are going to go down. Some of us are going to go down Renee's Hill, and then some people in the end decide not to go down Renee's Hill, which is fine. That's totally fine. And the group that we have seems like it's a pretty good mix of people. There are quite a few competent people that, you know, like do blues and stuff like that at least, and I don't know if they do, if there's any people that do blacks, but quite a few confident drivers, and then a small handful of brand new drivers in the mix. And even in one of the Jeeps, I noticed that, like, I think the driver, it was like the first time out, but the passenger was like very experienced, so the passenger would just get out and spot the person. So like it seemed like everything was working out really well with the way that we were doing things, and it was nice to see that the group was for the most part pretty self-sufficient, because it can get a little bit annoying if honestly, like if you have like one person in the group that like is really like good, that's like leading, and then like everybody behind them like needs like help from that one specific person. That one person just feels like they're running around constantly trying to help out, and I love it when, like, you know, there's a small pause because, you know, the person just needed to get spotted and the person in front of them spotted them through the obstacle, and there was like no problems at all. I love seeing groups that are self-sufficient where they can help each other out. Like, that is just great. There's been a couple other groups I've been in similarly where somebody in the group got stuck, and a group member had their winch out, had the person winched off the obstacle, and we had the person like moving again before the person in the front could even stop and like walk back to figure out what was going on. The person stopped and maybe walked back, you know, halfway, and then heard on the radio, everything's fine, like, let's continue. So this right here, the spot that we're in, is a pipeline. They ran this huge, I think it's an oil pipeline, I'm not really sure what it is, but it's a pipeline, and this pipeline here goes a very, very long distance. I don't even know where it goes, but it's basically, it's cut through all these different trees, and I guess there's been some good from the pipeline and maybe some bad also from the pipeline. I remember we were on one of the trails, I think it might have been part of SOP or Beeline or something like that, and the trail like ended abruptly because we like ran into the pipeline that we weren't expecting to run into. Anyway, so please subscribe. We will see you on Renee's Hill in the next video.